Hey, this is Too Fast here, and in this video I will show you how to install the brake rotors and pads on the rear of this Honda Odyssey. In my last video I showed you how to install the front ones. The parts I'll be using will be the slotted and cross-drilled rotors and ceramic pads from a seller on eBay called BrakeMotive76. So let's get started. To jack up the back, you can see where my floor jack is. There's a reinforced plate there that you can put your jack there and jack up the entire rear end. Put your floor jack on the back jacking point here. Now remove the lug nuts to the back wheel. So this is the passenger side on the rear, and first thing you want to do is go ahead and remove the caliper. And the two bolts holding the caliper is going to be a 12mm. There's going to be one here and one over here. So go ahead and knock this loose. And this will slide off. And set this aside. You don't want to have this hang by the brake hose, so just put this aside. To remove the rotor, what you'll need to do is remove this bracket that's holding the rotor in. And these two bolts here are 17mm. So go ahead and remove those. To get the rotor off, Honda put these Phillips screw that's holding the rotor in. If you have never taken this off before, it can be rusted on pretty bad. You can either try to just get it off and see if it comes out. If not, then you might need to pick up this impact screwdriver where you put this onto the head of the screw. So what you do is that you hammer this end here, and every time you hammer it, this front end will rotate a little bit. So hopefully they'll get it off. Now with this one, I have already removed it when I first got the car, and I put some anti-seize on it, so it's very easy to remove. Now you don't need to have these screws back in. They were used during the manufacturing process. So if you want to, you can put it back on, but make sure you put a little bit of anti-seize on it. If you don't put it on, that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. So with the screws removed, should be able to remove the rotor. If it's stuck on a little bit, just give a couple of whack. And it'll come off. On this bracket, there are these retaining clips. Go ahead and pull these off and give this a good cleaning. And do this for both sides. Also clean the surface here. Get a little bit of brake grease and put this on the bottom side of this, not too much. And then place the clip back in. Do the same thing for the other side. On the caliper, spray some brake clean and just wipe down the surface. We're going to compress the piston back in the caliper, and what you want to do is make sure that as we do this you don't overflow the reservoir, the brake reservoir here. To retract the piston back into the caliper, what you want to do is get yourself the old pad, put it up here, and I have this tool here. You can also use a C-clamp. This tool will allow me to compress the piston back in very easily. So all you have to do is retract this, put this in here. So just turn this, and as you can see right here, the piston is going to start going back in. And just make sure it goes in all the way, and it needs to be flush. And I got some Glide here. Go ahead and put some Glide onto this surface right here. Also put some on this surface where the pad's going to be touching. Before you install the new rotor, make sure you transfer this rubber dust cover off the old rotor and put it onto the new rotor right in this spot here. This hole is for you to adjust the emergency brake, and you can see if you look at the emergency brake here, here's the adjustment screw, and that hole acts as this one, so you can use a slotted head to adjust this. Now get some brake clean and spray down the surface. Wipe it down and make sure there are no grease and it's clean. Do the same thing on the back side here. Now you can put on the rotor. And if you want to reuse those screws that retains the rotor, you'll need to line up the hole here. Also on these brick motive rotor, you'll see that there's a sticker on it that says rear passenger side. Make sure you don't mix it up because of the slotting. So it has to go in a certain direction. So now I'm going to reinstall these Phillips screw, and I did put anti-seize on the threading. Now install the bracket. The two bolts at the back here, you need to tighten it to 65 foot-pounds. And I have a torque wrench here, that's what I'll use to tighten this. The other thing you should check is make sure these sliding pins are well lubricated and they can slide in and out very easily. On the brake pad itself, the inside pad, the left one here are the new ones, and the ones on the right are the old one. You'll see on the original old ones from Honda there is a metal shim that you need to remove and transfer over to the new pad. Now if you find that this shim is very rusted and is corroded, go ahead and replace it with the new one. They call these the hardware kit, the brake hardware kit, but these are pretty good, so I'm just going to get some brake clean this off and transfer it over. The outside pad does not have a shim that you can remove. It's built into the pad already. And same as for this brake motive ceramic pad, you can see the shim is already on it. I also like to give the new pads a quick spray, just in case if there are any type of grease on it. Usually they're pretty clean, but it doesn't hurt to do that. So on the back of the inside pad, put a little bit of brake grease, and that's going to be for the shim to go on. So it sits on it just like that. On the ends of the brake pads, just apply a small amount of brake grease. This is going to help it slide. Now you can install the brake pads. Here is the outside pad. Go ahead and install this in. They should slide in very easily. If you have any problems, make sure that the pads are the correct one for your vehicle. The next thing you need to do is put the caliper on. So go ahead and tighten up the two bolts that holds the caliper. And to make sure everything is tightened, you can put the 17mm wrench on here and just give it a few tap so we know it's nice and tight. So at this time the rear brake is done. You just have to repeat for the other side. After you put the wheel back on, you do want to follow the brake pad break-in procedure that came with the brake motive brakes. You do need to follow this carefully so that the brake pad material is transferred over to the rotor properly, and it will allow for proper braking. I just finished breaking in the brake pads, and the procedure basically involves 5 aggressive stop and also 5 moderate stop, and then driving it for about 5 minutes to let it cool. Now I want to show you the rotor, what it looks like after you finish the break-in process. As you can see on the rotor surface, there is this like a dark gray color to the rotor now. That tells you that the brake pad material has been deposited onto the rotor surface. For the lug nuts on this Honda Odyssey, you need to torque it down to 94 foot-pounds. So I hope you enjoy watching this video. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. If you like the video, please subscribe. Thank you.